r/AskReddit, what's a white lie you tell people about yourself because it would be too complicated to explain the truth? That I don't like to shake hands. In reality, I'm totally fine with it. However, I have a condition known as hyperhidrosis, which means that my sweat glands are hyperactive. I sweat a lot and pretty much constantly. For me, I sweat the most from my hands and feet, but others also sweat heavily from their underarms. It's not something I can control or manage easily. People who have shaken hands with me are grossed out and actively try to avoid me touching them. So rather than tell people this and open myself up to ew, that's so gross, and stuff like that, I just say I don't like physical contact. Edit. This is a few days later, but I want to thank everyone for being so considerate and helpful. I have so many new things to try now. Smiley face. Sorry if I didn't get to your comment, there were just so many. I hope you all have a great day and thank you for the awards. That there's just a massive schism in the family, father's side, over some huge argument, and I don't really understand why, and that's why I don't know a massive chunk of my paternal family. It's easier than explaining that my grandfather was convicted of raping his granddaughter and half the family supported him, including my parents, and half didn't. I often make it seem like I can only use a wheelchair to get around the place, rather than explain just how far I can walk before the pain gets too much, which is a horribly short distance BTW. Hashtag of siblings. No one wants to hear about a long, dead sister. It just makes people uncomfortable, and there's no reason to do that. I had to leave the army because life threw me a curveball. What I really mean is I was honorably discharged because I couldn't provide a satisfactory family care plan on where my daughter would go if I had to go to the field for a few weeks of training or got another long deployment. I became a single parent suddenly when my wife was killed by a drunk driver after I returned from my second deployment to Iraq. This explanation usually leaves an awkward silence because no one knows what to say. When I was 16, one of my lab partners at school, a guy I didn't know very well, told me that I looked like I was Russian, and yes, I do look like it. I'm half Polish, but when I tried to correct him, he cut me mid-sentence and started asking me questions about Russia, which I could not answer because the teacher came and told us to shut up. Later that week, many people asked me about it. I went to a school where there was basically no one with Slavic heritage, and soon the entire school was convinced I was from Russia. I couldn't be bothered correcting everybody, so I just went along with it. Don't know if it qualifies as a white lie, but here it is. That my brother married my baby's mama, effectively giving my son a step-dad uncle. If it comes up, I just tell people that he's my brother, just some guy that I get along well with. I used to always get a mix of coffee and cappuccino at the campus convenience store. That machine cappuccino straight is just too sweet and the coffee wasn't good enough, but combined they were fine. They always ask you coffee or cappuccino as it's about 50 cents difference and it's basically the honor system. I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want to explain that it's half and force them to try to find some way to ring it up. So I just alternate which one I told them. Technically always a lie, but also the most honest result, and easiest way to reach it, for all parties involved. It's my favorite honest lie. Ironically, for today's date, I tell them my mother is dead, not a paranoid schizophrenic who kidnapped me at 8 m. And left me in a drawer of a dresser in the closet of a hotel room alone for days, who anytime was in my state after that required me to have a police escort and spend lunch and recess in the principal office. It used to suck trying to lie about why I was in detention or why the police came to school for me. The last time me and my mom spoke was years ago. She offered to take me to dinner, drove me to the gas station dinner 3 blocks from my house, said she wasn't hungry and had to leave soon, then made me walk home before we could even order food. I hadn't seen her in 8 years. We spent less than 30 minutes together. I was 17. When I got home there was a message on the answering machine of her telling me what a loser I was. So she's dead if anyone asks. My dad died in his sleep. In reality, he died of an overdose of sleeping pills while in a hotel with some random woman. I have heard conflicting stories all my life. I was told by some it was suicide, some he was drinking, took pills, forgot he took them, then took another dose. Some say it was actually heroin. I don't think I will ever really know. I tell them I left one of my jobs because they didn't accommodate my school schedule. In actuality, I quit because I got demoted when I reported my co-worker of $40,000 worth of credit card fraud from our customers. The company was Samsung, American division. They made my life a living hell because my manager was upset that I didn't tell him about the fraud. I told the security team anonymously, and obviously they didn't keep it anonymous. My manager would have gotten a bonus if I had told him about the fraud, so he took it as disloyalty and demoted me, and told everyone I was a snitch. I quit because I put so much into that job, but it got too stressful. I was unemployed for a year after that, and then COVID hit. I've been pretty unlucky these past few years. That I live in ___ city. I really live in a suburb right outside of it, but nobody ever knows where it is because there aren't many houses. That my nephew is my brother, my oldest brother, who is 13 years older than me, had him young, and my parents raised him. He always knew they were his grandparents, so he's more like my brother than my nephew. That I left one of my jobs because I got a better offer. Actually, it was because I was asked to leave because I was testing out the new meeting room camera systems one evening and accidentally recorded my boss snorting cocaine off the tits of one of the accountants and getting a BJ afterwards. Both of them were married to other people. The TLDR is that they weren't comfortable with me working there anymore, so my boss cut me a pretty sweet deal to leave, which I took. Oh, no thank you, I don't drink. No, I just never got into it. Start the sweating and awkward smiles. I have a scar from when someone smashed a Guitar Hero controller into my face. When people ask me about it, I tell them it was from a baseball bat, because if I tell them what caused it, people always end up turning it into a joke. They ask if I was in some heated guitar duel or something and lost, but in reality I got it from my mom's abusive boyfriend, who just grabbed the first thing he saw and smashed it into my head with my back turned and fucked me up. I don't mean to lie, but I got sick of people turning it into a joke because it was from a toy. Those things are actually super freaking hard. I had tons of stitches and nerve damage. My brother is visiting me. In truth, actually one of my closest friends from college is a guy and I'm a woman. He's very close with my family and comes up to stay with me every couple months for a weekend. It's awesome. However, I really don't love my one nosy coworker asking me if I'm dating said friend every time we all discuss our weekends at lunch. It makes it a throwaway small talk line to say, oh, my brother is visiting. Edit. I hate that I need to clarify this, but men and women can be friends because they are all people. I have plenty of friends who happen to be men and ones who happen to be women. Plenty of people can also make great friends that for many reasons wouldn't be even okay romantic partners. Literally, you all proved my point in why I tell a very basic white lie at work. My first name is Seven and people always ask about it. My mom never really gave me a straight answer, so I like to have fun when people ask. A few of my most used replies are as follows. I actually have 6 younger siblings. My mom's a gambler and 7 is her lucky number. My mom really liked that Eddie Murphy movie. My mom is incredibly religious and believes 7 is a holy number. That I drive my older car because it's paid off and I don't want a car note. In all honesty, it's because I can't afford a new car and my credit is totally fucked. I work for myself, dropped out and got my GED. Have no college under my belt and on paper resume don't qualify for a decent paying job. I've got a repo on my record from when I was knee deep in my addiction and drinking. Recently hit my 6-month sobriety marker, trying to better myself, but it's a baby step game. Trying not to get discouraged, but my credit is a dark cloud over my head at times. Restricts me from getting a better place to live, or a better car situation. I'm fine, just a little tired / too busy to talk. Instead of saying I'm feeling suicidal and you pressing the wrong buttons would woke the worst part of me, so I need to be alone in order to protect myself, because, yeah, when I'm feeling like that I need some space, and TBH, I haven't found a single person that reacts well when I tell them that I'm suicidal. Most of them just make me feel bad and ask me to think about how others would feel if I do something like that, as if I have to live for somebody else. I'm trying to keep myself alive because I wanna be happy, not because others would feel sad. It's easy to pretend that I'm always tired and that everything is okay. I am a below-knee amputee on the right and I wear an articulated orthotic on my left. My lower leg issues are due to me being a non-compliant diabetic for many years. I wear shorts year-round as long pants are uncomfortable with my mobility aids. People frequently ask me what happened, and while I have come to terms with and capitulated to the fact that everything was my own fault, I prefer not to fall on my own sword over and over. I tell people I zigged when I should have zagged. Oh, I just took some time off school, was actually in psychiatric hospital for 3 months. I'm just tired, all the time. Boring, but I work for a third-party broker representing a national client, M&M's Candy, in retail stores. Some people have no idea what that means, so I just tell them I work for M&M's, and I still here, dash. So you just hand out candy. It must be tough working with kids. How do you stay slim when you eat candy all day? Just not having luck with the jobs right now. Actually, I have a neurological disability. No, I don't have kids is a lot easier than the conversation about how they're dead. That I'm married. My wife and I are separated but get on well enough to raise our daughter but not be together emotionally or sexually. I still live in the house and we pool our money to give our daughter the best environment we can. Oddly, we fight way less than we did before, so the environment has improved massively. We both just have FWB or fuck buddies that we see when time permits, although we have an explicit rule about introducing people to our daughter and no banging at home if there's a chance the other/our daughter may come back home. Edit. Spelling. I have a boyfriend instead of we just started talking in a game and you're asking me out. I don't know you and now I'm creeped out. I don't have a mic usually. If I end up talking on video games and they realize I'm a girl, their conversation becomes uncomfortable or just annoying. I always just say my friend instead of saying my daughter's mom or my ex because the latter two give off an awkward tone in conversations, and whatever I'm bringing up usually isn't related to the fact that she's in the role that she's in. So it's not something that really needs to be specified anyway. That I am mildly allergic to garlic and onions. Technically I am dimethyl trisulfide and/or diallyl disulfide intolerant. It is similar to lactose intolerance and is not an actual allergy, but that takes a fair amount of explaining. I don't have a sense of smell. It's easier to say that than explain what smells I can actually smell, or the fact that I can't identify smells correctly. Example. My parents and I were looking for a new house. We walked in and I was pleasantly greeted with the strong smell of lemon pledge. My parents and boyfriend were complaining of headaches, dizziness, and nausea. I just thought it was too strong for them to handle. My mom then informed me that what I was actually smelling was cat pee. Other examples would be things like, stir fry smells like spaghetti, cinnamon smells like that generic flowery smell in women's products, meatloaf smells like cookies. Which is extra disappointing because I'm vegetarian. I can't have kids. Easier than trying to explain the medical condition that necessitated removal of both of my fallopian tubes. Technically I can still have kids. I'll just never conceive them naturally. Although if I'm having a particularly bad day, or someone won't let it go, I'm looking at you, it'll happen when you least expect it. Lady from last week. I'll give them my whole medical history. Usually makes people very uncomfortable. Which serves them right. Imo. Stop asking people you barely know about their reproductive plans. Maybe they've experienced recurrent miscarriage. Maybe they have been trying for years. Maybe they have genetic conditions they don't want to pass along. Or maybe they just don't want them. In any case, they don't owe you an explanation. I don't have a mom. They always think she's dead. She's not. She just left. People really struggle with that reality and it makes them sad and feeling sorry for me. So I just leave it at I don't have one. They extend their sympathies and we move on. I moved from the West Coast to upstate New York. I started a new job at a hospital and couldn't understand what anybody said. Everyone spoke so fast. I told all co-workers and patients that I was deaf in one ear and to speak more slowly, please, and they did. Everyone was so nice and so sorry for me. LOL. Also, when people ask me how many kids do I have, I say 2. I actually have 3. My daughter died from cancer and I just don't feel that I have to explain this to strangers. The important people in my life know and they're the ones who count. That I have 5 kids. I will never refer to my steps as steps. I was raised by a stepdad and was always treated as someone else's kid, and I will never let my extra kids feel that. That's I'm allergic to shrimp, nothing else seafood related, just shrimp. I have an irrational fear of them, which people always question me about. It's just, they, curl. I tell folks I'm from Texas, or if I'm in Texas, That I'm from California. I usually say those white lies because they're technically true, but actually I'm a refugee from a country that broke up in a civil war. No, I don't want to talk about that experience, and no, I don't want to explain how old I was and all that other stuff. Like Jesus, other folks don't have to tell their entire life story to a salesman in Men's Warehouse. That we don't drink because we don't really like it. My husband is a recovering alcoholic and is nailing recovery like a badass, but it just makes things awkward. Used to be one, now two. I usually let my friends or people outside my family circle presume that the woman in our household is my bio mother. She's not. My parents divorced when I was 2 over some petty stuff that led me to have an unpleasant childhood. After the divorce, my parents started living in different cities. Later on, my mother was forced to make a rather difficult decision due to financial reasons. She conceded our custody to my father, me and my older brother, to ensure we'll have a bright future. My father got a new woman in his life that didn't accept us nor treated us at first as her own children, but she learned to do so later on. Inevitably, I am having new friends in my new school. Some of I am still in touch with till this day. I never shared my story with any of them. I wasn't the attention-seeking type, nor was I planning to tell them. It just brings sad vibes and makes go emotional when thinking about my f***ed up childhood, let alone talking about it. Now for the second one. Only my best friend knows this since we're like brother, but only to an extent. I am currently in a gap year which I was forced to take due to a medical inconvenience. Whenever a close friend asked what I'm up to now after HS, I just tell them I am on break because you know COVID and everything. In reality, I just recovered from cancer after surgery and 6 months long intensive chemo sessions. Honestly, this shitty chemo experience merged with the f***ed up childhood emotions and thoughts made me turn into an emotionless 18-year-old, but thankfully I am still sane and clean. I'm taking a break from school because of COVID, easier than saying I dropped out and getting a lecture on why that was a mistake. I am too selfish to have kids, damn easier than. I had 5 miscarriages, one I nearly bled out during. I had to stop trying as it wrecked my mental health. I can't be mum. That I was a bartender even though I was a stripper. I did bartend for many years as well. I'm not ashamed of dancing, but I hate the repetitive conversation loop that comes from it, or the judgmental religious people, or I just say I work at a bar, because then I'm technically not lying. Ha. My birthday was fine, nothing special. My birthday falls around a holiday and school exams, so people are almost always unavailable, but assume I did something fun because they think I am an independent person. I've had to learn how to be independent because of this, but I'm much more of a lonely person. If it isn't the holiday or exams that disrupts plans I try to make, my friends are either busy, sick, hungover, disinterested, or they forgot. When people find out I spent my birthday alone and crying, there is sometimes a make-up party because they feel bad. There have been 3 in the last 9 years, and there might be a 4th coming up. Tell me I should make plans. I do, and people almost always cancel for reasons. Tell me to enjoy the day alone. I spend so much of my life alone and would rather spend it with people. Tell me I'm too old to still care about birthdays. All these people have families who celebrate them. Tell me maybe I'm doing something to drive people off. Haven't heard what it is yet and I have asked. And my personal favorite, sounds like you need new friends. When I've been through multiple social circles and for some reason, everyone feels comfortable prioritizing other birthdays except mine, and this advice comes from people I consider friends. So, I tell people I had a good birthday and didn't do anything special, because I just can't keep hearing it. If they press me about it, then I tell them about how it sucked, but usually it's just easier to lie to avoid being called a guilt tripper. I've been vocal in the past about how much I want to spend my birthday with people, but then the commentary comes. Always grateful to get texts and messages from friends around the world, but it's hard doing this alone. I can't come to your activity on Sunday because I go to church. I really go to a recovery meeting. It means a lot to me and I'm not interested in discussing it with casual acquaintances. That I fix computers for a living. I'm on disability support and can't find a job. Anytime I'm honest, people think that I can magically will myself into a job or that I'm just being lazy. That or that don't believe in mental disabilities. I'm also just embarrassed to admit I don't work. I feel like a burden on everyone. I'm okay, really. Weird for today, but I say my aunt and uncle are my parents. If people ask, I never say they're individually my mom and dad, but it's too much to explain the situation with my bio parents, when it's brought up. I'm an identical twin and am often confused with my sister. Sometimes it is in passing, or I can tell they said the wrong name by mistake, so I usually just go along with it rather than taking the time to correct them. My family died years ago. Easier than explaining that they're a horrific group of monsters who I had to run to the other side of the world to escape from. I'm from Pittsburgh. I say this when I'm traveling. Really, I'm from a town in the suburbs that nobody ever heard of. How my ex broke up with me. Some knew we were poly. Fewer knew it was a dom/sub thing. I knew he had met another boy over the pandemic, which was fine given the poly thing, but in the end he straight up replaced me. Literally said, but I have X for that stuff now. He let me move to be closer to him, put him on my life insurance, then couldn't even put in 2 months of effort to try to save a 3+ year relationship before he dumped me, couldn't even do me the honor of breaking up with me in his house, did it at the one bar I liked in this new city. I'm destroyed, and there's really not a way to fully explain without opening myself up for so many more questions and judgments about the lifestyle. That the reason that they have to repeat what they just said is that I'm deaf in one ear because of a firework. Not really. I have some sort of progressive neurological hearing loss. It's pretty slow and minor, so don't cry for me. I can tell that a person is making some kind of noise with their mouth, but I can't separate the language noises from other background sounds. You've made it through the whole video. If you enjoyed it, consider subscribing for more videos every day. I upload 2 videos every single day.